dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I'm going to do a review, fellas. There's been a couple of content creators who've done their own thoughts and processes on this now. A bit late to the party myself as the oh-so-controversial one. I'm going to just give me thoughts. I have read through this prior to doing the recording, but I'm going to go through it and just provide my thoughts personally on it. There's one or two of you out there that probably are interested to hear this, like two of you, but literally. But yeah, we're going to go through it. Everybody is losing their minds about this. What I am going to say straight off the bat, I am going to start on a positive in this video. This needs to happen, right? I am somebody who does 100% believe in this, I should say. Not in the sense that behaviour can actually deliver it, but in the sense of delaying a chapter for the purposes of game health, because right now, fellas, just to give you a bit of a taste of the type of video you're in for here, I can safely say, at least from my perspective, at the moment the game is complete wank, right? For a lot of reasons, and looking at what we've sort of listed in terms of what we're going to be addressing here, I'm a bit fucking worried, particularly Phase 2. This does need addressing, anti-tunneling, anti-camping and all that kind of stuff, but it's the way they're going to do it, and they're going to do it wrong. I can see it coming right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through each of these. I'm going to provide, you know, basically what my thoughts are on them, each one of them, and then we'll read what behaviour has to say about them, right? So, starting off, anti-slugging surrender option. I do have the prior context on what the surrender option is. I'll go into that, you know, later on when we actually scroll down. Anti-slugging in general, just going to chat a little bit about this. This will cover both phases because it's just the same thing. The reason killers are slugging at the moment is because it's a mixture of a lot of things, actually. One, gen speeds are too quick. You're going to hear that a lot from me. I am not actually 100% a killer player. I do play this game about 60-40 killer survivor respectively. Gen speeds are too quick. No argument. They are too quick. You will, most of the time, in a lot of my games, or that I get anyway, I will lose 2 gens in the first chase regardless of how long it is. The reason this happens is because survivors usually spawn split up in a lot of games, and that's 2 separate generators that are going to be being pushed in your first chase at least, because you'll only be chasing one person. That's why you lose 2 gens by the time you, well, near towards the end or just after your first chase ends. That's why you lose them, and then you go down to 3. When you get down to 3 generators, regardless of if it's been a fast start at the beginning or if it's actually been quite slow but you've been unlucky in your chases, you now have to start slugging to win as killer. If you don't, you will lose. Right, that's the long and short of it in a lot of videos. There's a lot of factors that go into it and all that kind of stuff that, you know, maybe you can get quick chases and maybe you can come back, but I'm basing this based on my games that I have, because I'm typically quite high at MMR. I get a mixture of games where I'll go through nights of just non-stop 4-man swifts and having to literally slug everybody to have a chance, and then I'll get low MMR games where, you know, I don't have to tunnel, I don't have to slug, and generally I enjoy myself more in them games because you're actually a power roll in them ones, and you don't have to really sweat your ass off as the supposed power roll, you know. But yeah, the slugging situation, fellas, is basically a byproduct of many things. One of them being gen speeds, as I say, and the second part, and this is going to feed directly into why I believe they are going to fuck up the anti-tunneling and anti-camping thing in July, is because now, in the current state of Dead by Daylight, because we seem to just be hell-bent on creating a carry situation for survivors at every instance of the game, Off the Record now exists in its current state. We've got DS, we've got Shoulder the Burden, we've got Dead Hard, all that kind of stuff that activates from hooking survivors. So now we have sort of crossed the threshold, I should say, now in the current game state, where hooking for killers is actually a net negative. right? So now what happens is it is essentially better to just run knockout and slug everybody and then one hook everybody, because then you skip all of the arbitrary bullshit that's been added to this game over the past recent couple of years. It's a bit of an hard truth for some people, but that's the fucking state the game's in, mate. Yeah, I put Survivor videos out on my channel where I run off the record DS and I laugh me fucking way through the games because it's a joke. I don't have to worry about anything, you know. But that's why slugging is now an epidemic and why we're now addressing it. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, is behaviour doesn't address things in the right way. They never have done. The situation with slugging can be fixed by actually just reversing a lot of the negatives surrounding actually hooking survivors and making it actually worth your while for killers to hook survivors. Because at the minute, when you hook survivors, you're actually rewarding that survivor more than you are yourself. You've got to hook these people 12 times collectively. They get rewarded by second chances, and it delays that very short window which ties into gen speeds with all the forced second chance iframe shit that's in the game now, you know? And that obviously, again, as I say, is leading on to what they're going to be doing in July, because it fucking scares me, boys. Because if they do what they think I'm going to do, where they're just going to sprinkle more iframes into it and all that kind of stuff, they are going to make the game worse, 100%. They won't fix it like they think they're going to do with iframes. Not a fucking chance. The game will get worse if they keep adding iframe mechanics into it, yeah? I can get unhooked as Survivor at the moment, and I'm talking from a Survivor perspective here because I like the horror atmosphere kind of stuff. I can get hooked as a Survivor and I can run into the killer. Don't have to give a shit. No shit's given whatsoever. I've got off the record, I've got DS, I've got dead hard. Don't have to give a flying fuck. Yeah? There's no horror tension whatsoever. I get rewarded when I play Survivor for being bad at the game and getting hooked. You know, that's the situation we're in with this game at the moment. But behaviour, I'd put money on it anyway. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they do know. But I'd put money on it that they're not going to do this right. And it's going to fucking backfire massively. Right before the FNAF release as well, which is obviously what spurred this on. We won't really shy away from saying that. It has, mate. You know, the game's been out for 9 years, and this is probably the first quality of life or health update the game's actually fucking received in 9 years of its lifespan. Lo and behold, before the biggest license it's about to receive, you know. But yeah, the anti-slugging situation can literally be fixed by removing iframes. Well, not removing iframes, obviously, but toning down the egregious arbitrary shite that's in the game at the moment, where, you know, off the record is one of the biggest perpetrators of this. If you hook a survivor, they've got 80 seconds of invincibility. Then it's adrenaline off the hook at all stages of the game. This is what I talk about, where the survivor gets unhooked, they're basically healthy. They look injured, but they're healthy because they've got 2 health states. Then, so that's, you have to catch them up there at a loop, and then you can hit them. And then they get the sprint burst as though they were healthy. You know, that kind of thing. And that's the reason, or one of the reasons, as I say, because we keep looping here, I'm going to move on in a minute. ADHD brain, you'll have to put it on there. Where it's a negative to hook people, because you're giving them that advantage, you know. There's not really much point in the current state of the game to hook survivors at high level as killer. Because it's pointless. You're just rewarding them. Because they keep adding carry mechanics into it, because they don't fucking leave Twitter. This is one of the principal problems and the reason why we are currently in this state, mate. Because whoever's playtesting this game, you either need to raise that fucking wage and make them do the job properly, or fucking get rid of them. Because they're not actually doing the jobs, boys. They really aren't. Some of the changes we've received over the years, like 8 gen kick limits and fucking, you know, borrowed time at base was actually a good change because it was a requirement to stop, you know, the whole tunneling, like hardcore tunneling situation and all that kind of shit. But some of the changes they're making, dude, it's fucking idiotic. It really is. Especially the 8 gen kick limit. That was one of the biggest ones that I can remember, to be honest, where you can only kick gens 8 times in a match, and usually if you're in a match where you actually reach that limit, it's because you're actually doing your objective as the killer and you're defending generators and all that kind of stuff. But no, I guess you can't win. Get fucked, basically, because the survivors are getting a wee bit little bored with you, you know, or they're getting upset or whatever because they can't win. But yeah, that's the anti-slugging situation. Lot to say about that. Gamma settings. Don't know what this is. I have a feeling, though, because I did watch another content streamer and I did watch their run through of this, and they did explain it over there better than I can, because I don't use stuff like reshade and all that bollocks. I don't bother with it. I have a feeling this is something to address reshade with, but that person obviously said that gamma doesn't actually mean anything in reshade. It's literally colour manipulation on the screen rather than it being the actual gamma itself. So whatever that is, don't care. Go next, prevention. Yes, I am happy to actually see this from my survivor perspective. Actually, the amount of times I have been in totally fucking winnable games on survivors, and for whatever reason, some fucking ape will have a 2-second chase across the map when we're at like 1 or 2 generators left and the killer's only got like 1 hook, and they'll just kill themselves on the hook, and then this killer now only has 3 survivors to manage, and usually once you get down to the last generator and there's only 3 generators left, if they're not split up massively across the map, 3 survivors is significantly more manageable than what 4 is, and it usually snowballs into a loss despite what would have been a win. So yes, we're going to go into the situation of how they're planning to execute that though in a minute, because yeah, it's a bit weird to be honest. Hiding and body blocking prevention, yep, that's always good. The hiding situation's good. The sort of incentive that survivors have to just completely fuck each other over when the game's coming to drawing to a close, I should say, is a bit weird. But yeah, as I say, not much else to say there. It is what it is. Some of these are going to be more. I'm going to discuss them more as we read what behavior's actually going to do with them. You know, improved AFK bots. This is a weird one because it's worded wrong, I believe. This is actually in reference to the crows, I believe, AFK crows. If it's talking about improved AFK bots, as in those doctors that you see here and there that just sort of attack walls and spin on the spot, I wouldn't recommend really improving them. But yeah, I have a feeling it's either something to do with getting rid of them or the crow situation, which I've seen. Quality of life, blood point spending. Could live or die without it, to be honest. I actually like doing the blood web. I like the little mini game of telling the entity to get fucked by sending me Mories and map offerings. New quest system, don't know what that is yet. I don't know if we really need one, but I suppose, yeah, sure. That's kind of what the Rift and the Archives are for, but okay. More perk presets, yeah. Never really had interest in that either because I just swap them out. I only use one. I just swap perks to what I need to. It doesn't really bother me. Preview your perks in lobby. Yes and no, because well, I mean I play solo queue, but it's not really been something I've really been interested in seeing my opponent's builds, to be honest. This does sort of buff survivors towards more of a swift kind of way. But I mean for solo queue, yeah, sure, I suppose. Again, like for the quality of life things in the first month anyway, yeah, like it's just I'm indifferent, to be fair. I'm sure some people will get benefit out of it, I suppose, but yeah. Then we move on to phase 2, ladies and gentlemen, which is either going to fucking destroy the game or, I'd be very surprised if it actually improves it, to be fair. For the reasons that I mentioned at the beginning of this, quite honestly. Anti-tunneling, anti-camping. If they try to address this with iframes and more arbitrary locking the killer out of playing the game will straight up get worse. There's no debate, it will get worse. Because it will just turn into the same fucking shit over and over again. People will always, in a PvP game, people will always find a way to exploit the shortcuts with things like this. And if you're just going to give survivors a bunch of ways to get out of every situation that's happening to them, then there's going to be no point playing the game at all. There just won't be. You might as well just go and play against bots in a fucking PvE mode. If you get into the point where your community of your game is that fucking sensitive that we need to have an anti to literally everything that one side of the game does to them, A, these people need to stop playing PvP games, yeah? Or B, we need to fucking start ignoring them. because it's getting stupid. Literally getting stupid. I've seen it from both sides. Killer's nearly unplayable at top MMR these days, despite what everybody on social media wants to tell you that it's killer favoured and all that kind of shit. It's not. I've started playing Survivor quite a bit now. The recordings of Survivor is a bit scarce on my channel because the games are sort of just... It's hit or miss between what actually happens in them, because I'm more of a stealth gamer. I don't go for the whole looping situation. I do gens in the background, but I still manage to escape most of my games, and I do post some of them anyway to the channel when I do them. But yeah, it leads into what I always say, obviously in a bit more of a heated sense when I'm actually playing the game, when I say how not to design an ASIM, because it isn't, boys. Giving one side iframes and answers to literally everything that the side that they're supposed to avoid does, whilst also arming them with speed hacks, flashbangs, flashlight saves, stuff like that. Flashbangs at the moment that don't actually have counterplay. No, it's a shit way to do an ASIM, boys, and I'll always say that, yeah, because I want the game to get better. I want it to go back to its horror-based roots that we had, you know. But yeah, I have a feeling they're going to do it. They're going to give fucking Survivors base kit Unbreakable, base kit fucking DS, base kit Off the Record, all this kind of stuff, and the game will just become unplayable at top MMR. At least for killers anyway. It's already getting to a fucking joke, dude. Already, right now. And we're still going on about anti-slugging, anti-tunneling, anti-camping, all this kind of stuff, you know. But it is what it is. MMR update, get rid of it. Don't need a fucking MMR game, an MMR system in a party game, which is what this is. The way it's designed. It's a party game, get rid of fucking MMR. It really is not needed, to be honest. People need, as a broader sense, just need to accept that they will lose rounds. If you get paired with somebody who has a lot more hours than you do, whatever. If it didn't have MMR in it, it'd be a one-off game here and there, you know, where you'd just get, you know, you'd have that negative stomp experience. But these days, I'm coming from Killer with this because it affects Killer more, honestly, because I've played Survivor and I've escaped loads of games, but the Survivor experience doesn't really seem to change too much, but you do notice it more on Killer, where if you say you're a new player, right, you start playing the game today as Killer, right, and you decide to dedicate some time into playing Killer, right, and you start getting good with your character, you start getting don't start getting good necessarily, you start getting a basic understanding of what your killer does, what your chosen killer does, what you want to do and all that kind of stuff, right? So you start on average 3 or 4k in most of your games, which is what you will do at low MMR in this game, because it is at low MMR, it's killer favoured. By sheer volume, because of this really bad fucking MMR system that shouldn't be in the game, regardless of how bad the players are that you're playing against, if you keep 4k in or 3k in, because the game considers 3k as a win as well, you will get pushed to an MMR where Killer becomes fucking unplayable because of all the anti-camping, tunneling and anti-slugging perks that are available in this game now. A lot of the stuff that you do as Killer once you reach high MMR doesn't mean anything. You basically, which is what leads into the slugging situation, if you want to win at high MMR, you just have to slug everybody. We're getting very, very, very close to that being the genuine reality of nearly every high MMR game now. But, as I say, again, anti-tunneling, anti-camping, there's going to be even more of it, because this is behaviour. But, as I say, the MMR system goes, it'd spread everybody out in a big fucking bucket. Doesn't mean anything then. You might get one exceptionally good killer, you might get one group of exceptionally good survivors, or a 4-man swift. We're not going to call the 4-man swift exceptionally good because it's just literally cheating. But the point stands on both sides. You'd have the bad game, then you go into the next one. Might be a very good game after that, you know. But you're not being locked out of playing the game properly, or how you would like to play the game, by being forced to go against fucking sweats on either side, you know, the more you play it in a game that's been designed as a party game. So, you know, I mean, I'm going to sprinkle this in here because I do actually have competitive gaming roots. I do actually have them. In recent years, I've sort of steered away from it because I don't like meta generally. This game kind of forces me as a killer player to play as meta though, but generally I don't like meta. I like to do interesting things and all that kind of stuff. I started playing a lot on Stealth Nemesis at the moment as well as just maining Unknown at the moment. I was actually, back in the day, just to give credence to the roots, I was top 10 in the world in Evolve on the Goliath monster over there. So I do have competitive roots in that regard. And in a game like Evolve, an MMR system does work, because MMR is Evolve is skill based. This game isn't skill based from either side. It's about being carried and gaining things from what happens in the game to carry you through it. I've seen that from start to finish, boys. That's what it is. But in this particular game, this particular situation with Dead by Daylight, an MMR system shouldn't exist in this game. From a former competitive player, you know, I'd be happier to see it go, to be honest, than actually just updating it. But yeah, map and key item balancing. Maps, yeah, keys, get the fuck out of here with those. To be honest, they are going to likely incentivize people trying to stay alive to last to get hatch again, if you're going to buff them. So yeah, interesting to see how that's going to work with the sort of go next hiding prevention, if you're going to buff an item that literally just incentivizes it. But sure. Quality of life, keyboard and mouse on consoles, don't know why you'd ever need that. Custom game improvements, accessibility improvements, prestige rewards. That's interesting. Prestige rewards. Something for P100, perhaps? Reduced login steps. Never had to log into the game, so sure. Gonna just post a passing comment and then we'll scroll down and see what they say. Accessibility improvements. Please, for the love of fucking God, I hope this isn't more HUD elements, and I hope this isn't more telling literally everybody, killer and survivor, what is going on, what this does, what that does, what this fucking atom that's moving on the left side of the screen does. We don't need, in a horror game that has just fractions and tiny little snippets of its atmosphere left because it's been fucking destroyed, to be told literally every single fucking thing that's going on. Yeah, it's not what a horror game is. So with accessibility improvements, I really hope it's not more HUD elements and it's not more just telling people everything or playing the game for them, you know. It's really annoying, dude. It's like whenever you open chests and things now and all that kind of stuff, they used to just be like it used to be a square with the like you'd open a chest and it'd just be a square. It'd be the, say it's a med kit, and it'd just be the icon, and it'd have obviously the colour based on what tier it was that you got out of that chest. That was fine. Now you open that chest, bang, big fucking Chinese fucking, you know, advertisement, fucking 600 IP address, fucking words, numbers, all that kind of shit pops up on your screen. That's what this item does, you know, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't need to be there, dude. It really doesn't. Like, it's part of the, well, I wouldn't say it's a sole reason, but it's part of the reason why everybody's so fucking stupid these days, because they just have everything told to them rather than being able to pick that item up and see how it works in the game, you know, when they use it. It's a med kit. That's basic human common sense that you'd heal yourself with it, you know. It's a toolbox. It's basic human common sense that you'd use it on a generator. Let people find out for themselves. Don't just open the chest, blast the fucking screen with, here's what this does, and then there it is, you know. It just pulls you out of the game, dude, when they start putting massive prompts all over it. But yeah, we'll see what they have to say, in terms of what's been said. I'm trying to figure out where my screen is. I don't have two monitors. Right, let's see what they've read. We're going to go into this saying that, you know, the second half of this, just as we read what they say, I do believe Behaviour are broadly clueless, but an innocent kind of innocent kind of clueless in a sense. But they just need to stop living on Twitter, to be honest, and actually play the game they're designing. Dead by Daylight will be undergoing a substantial quality of life initiative which should address many long-standing concerns and frustrations our players have been experiencing. It took us 9 years to do this. This initiative will take place over the course of 2 phases. The first runs from April to June, while the second runs from July to December. Are those the same? No, I think phase 2 is significantly longer, isn't it? Is it? I don't know, whatever. For a full look of what's scheduled, check out the roadmap below. Yep, we're not going to watch the video because I'll probably get copyright striked. Lol. To accommodate for the scope of this initiative, we have decided to delay several of our upcoming releases. This was good. This is what needed to happen, I hope. Because they needed to fix the game, dude. The game's getting really fucking bad. The bugs, the balance of it, lack of thereof, is getting really egregious, to be honest, and something needs to be done about it. And it's good to actually see that this is now happening, you know. Including chapters, rifts, event modifiers, and collections. Yep, that means there will be no PTB tomorrow. We were supposed to get the new killer today, I think, in the PTB. But rest assured that we did not make this decision lightly. Don't have to make it lightly, mate. Just tell everybody who's whining about, you know, chapter releases, fuck off. Game health comes first, you know. We feel, and I say that as a whale, actually, somebody who likes to buy new things that come to the game, you know. Because my whale brain's even turning around now and thinking, Jesus Christ, we need to fix this shit, you know. We feel confident that delaying our upcoming releases to prioritise this quality of life initiative will ultimately make Dead by Daylight stronger than ever. We were always listening to our players, you're really not, and this has been a long time coming. This general thing that they always say this in every patch note, and it does get under my skin a bit. It does piss me off because this is corporate slander. Well, not slander, but it's that smiley, smarmy shit that, you know, you say in corporate, where you stroke your own ego, pat your own back, that kind of shit, you know. You're not listening to players, because that's the state. Well, you are listening to players, but you're listening to the wrong ones, the ones that only live on Twitter, you know. The broader player base that actually has a brain between their ears are going just unheard, to be honest, for quite a long amount of time. And we're listening to people that shouldn't be playing PvP games, to be quite honest. But yeah, looking for a more comprehensive breakdown of everything that landed up in phase 1, we've got you covered. Yep. Surrender state. The team has been working on a surrender feature which should limit player frustration on both sides. To get it right, we first needed to identify the situations where its use would be most appropriate, leading us to 2 scenarios. All remaining survivors have been slugged. Survivor. All remaining survivors are bots. Killer. Once these instances occur, players will be able to use the surrender option and then try and retain the blood points they've earned and escaping the disconnect penalty. Right. Now, all remaining survivors have been slugged, so they can just forfeit. Does that mean the killer loses their BP? Because if it does, that's a negative change. The reason for this is, say if you want to potentially go for the endgame Mori, you know, that we've just implemented, right? The idea with this that I had anyway, which is probably going to be hard to code into the game, and obviously has to factor in if the last remaining survivor slugged has unbreakable or anything to revive themselves off the floor. If nothing like that is in play, if there's nothing detected in that player's build that can revive them off the floor, right? The survivor that is hooked at stage 2 that can't 4%, yeah, should instantly be killed. As soon as that last survivor goes down, they should just play the end entity animation. They're not getting off the hook. The survivor on the floor is not getting up, right? So in that instance, it accelerates it for everybody. Killer gets the Mori, and that's that, you know. Even have it so that once that last survivor goes down, the killer gets forced to do the Mori, so you can't use it as a BM situation. It ends it there. As soon as that last survivor goes down, Mori, you know. Obviously, you know, there is the situation that you can't friendly give hatches anymore, but you still can as long as you don't slug the last survivor. But again, there is a hole there that the last survivor could just revive the person that's on the hook and all that kind of stuff. But as I say, I don't know how this is going to work in terms of, you know, the finisher Mori and all that kind of stuff. I do believe, actually, thinking about it, it might still work the same because it says all remaining survivors have been slugged. So presumably there'd be a survivor on the hook, so that's a different state. And the last survivor would be on the floor slugged, so there'd be 2 survivors alive, but only one of them would be slugged, and that's not all of them, you know. So I'll have to see what that's like, as I say, but yeah. If it's 4-man slugging at 5 gens like some fucking pricks do, then yeah, fair enough. that's the situation where it should be, you know, that kind of stuff. But in terms of also against the Swift, where you need to slug everybody, no, it's a bit of a negative there. Because they'll just literally, they'll basically just rob the killer of the hook points in that instance at the end. Because against the Swift, your hands are tied as killer. There's not anything you can really do against 4 people in a Discord call, coordinating everything. So, yeah. All remaining survivor bots all remaining survivors are bots, killer. This is kind of just redundant. I mean, yeah, sure. If you wanna not farm the bots and get your BP anyway, and just, you know, I don't really see the point of why you'd surrender when they're all bots as killer. Because I'd still play it and just get the points, to be honest. You know, just play it as a bot game. You might as well make it worth your while. I don't know why you'd surrender in that instance as the killer, unless it just gives you all the points. Maybe it's the only reason why I'd do it, just to save the time. But yeah, if they're all bots, I'd still just play it just to get the farm. To be honest, yeah, sure. Gamma adjustments Dead by Daylight can get a little dark. It's almost like it's an horror game, innit? Not just thematically, and sometimes excessive darkness can hinder playability. It fucking doesn't, boys. We're introducing the ability to adjust gamma settings on all platforms, allowing you to find a sweet spot. Yeah, sure, people want it to be brighter, let them have it brighter, but the whole philosophy around this shit can get a little dark, and sometimes excessive darkness can hinder playability. It's an horror game. You know, remember what it was like in 2016, boys, when maps were dark, you know, and it was actually a horror game. Fucking hell, I really wish they'd go back to that. I kind of hope they do now, but they won't, obviously, with the gamma adjustments where they give people the option to brighten it up, you know, for people that want to play in a fucking white room. Or want to run around, I should say, in a white room. The brightening up of every map, and in a game called Dead by Daylight, where every map rework turns the map into fucking daytime. You know, we had the situation with Colwyn Farm. Old Colwyn Farm, if you don't know anything about that, if you Google it, DBD Old Coldwind, it was just 1,000% better than what we have now, where they try to turn it into fucking TCM. You know? Like, the farm these days is in daytime. It used to be like dead rustic and gloomy and dark and murky back in the day. It was so much better before they did that. But yeah, sure. Go next prevention. Right, here we go. The go next expression refers to instances where a survivor deliberately does everything in their power to quickly go to their next game. Yep, fucking apes. Including walking up to the killer and standing still, run to an hook and repeatedly pointing at it, or most commonly intentionally failing skill checks while on the hook. Yeah, everything apart from that last one's a bit, because that's a bit patchy, to be fair. Because that's just getting out of a game that's probably unwinnable at that point, so your last mate can get the hatch. I wouldn't really say that is particularly go next, but it can be, obviously, if they're doing it right at the start of the game. But yeah, as I say, it is what it is. To disincentivize and properly penalise this behaviour, we'll be implementing measures that will help us identify when a player is attempting to go next. This is very dangerous, by the way. Once identified, they'll receive a disconnection penalty point and lose an entire grade. We'll be keeping a close eye on this system to ensure its accuracy, but we're confident that this will help alleviate the issue. This is very, very fucking dangerous. There's a lot of different things that go into what can blur the line between going next. This situation is one of them. Some survivors in certain games will do this if they want to farm and be wholesome with killers, or if it is a game that has gone beyond the realms of winning for survivors, and they just want to basically say, yeah, sure, you got us, just get us on the hook, get it over with. I don't think they should be receiving DC penalties for that, to be honest, which is kind of what this system is implying that it will do. And I say that from the killer perspective, actually, of being forced to sit through 4-man Swift games that I have no chance of winning or receiving a DC penalty, you know, if I just decide to leave because there's nothing for me to do here, it's not a game, you know. That's the survivor equivalent in that sense. Yeah, dangerous. On the other hand, we'd like to reward players who stick it out through these challenging matches, even when things take a dire turn. This is good, because it will stop people from maybe throwing a fucking fit, I suppose. We'll be moving forward with the new emblem-based multiplier that grants additional blood points during your following match, with the bonus stacking over consecutive trials. This is also just universally good, because I've said for quite a while that blood point gains should be just universally hiked right the fuck up, to be honest. With the amount of characters that are now in the game, it takes absolutely ages to do anything in this game for new players. I don't really feel that, obviously, because or players that have been around like me. I've been around since 2016. I have every character unlocked, as do the same people who, you know, have been around for that long. So veteran players like myself and all those people don't really feel it in terms of the actual grind, because we just do it character by character, you know, that gets released. But in terms of starting the game now, and if you don't want to spend money and you can't spend money, it is very fucking painful to grind through it. I do think blood points should just be raised universally, honestly, massively. I'm not saying obviously 1,000,000 points a game and all that kind of shit. I'm just saying, like, it needs raising to some degree, dude, because it's just terrible at the moment. If you don't run BP offerings, I think at least, actually, yeah, survivor puddings, escape cakes, or party streamers, all the 100% increases should be base kit now, in terms of BP gains. I think that'll probably give it a nice, you know, a nice level increase, to be honest. Because if you run a survivor pudding in a decently lengthy game, or an escape cake, it gets you a couple of levels in your blood web, but nothing too massive, you know. Obviously, like the grade resets that you get millions of points for if you play both sides. But yeah, as I say, it is what it is. But yeah, positive in that sense by incentivizing with more blood points. But yeah, very dangerous overall, mate, to be fair. This has the potential to backfire massively in multiple ways. So, dangerous. The PTB situation needs to be actually fucking looked at by Behaviour themselves in this instance, and not just throwing it out there and saying, yeah, we looked at it, and then just releasing the same fucking thing that was in the PTB, regardless of if it had issues and all that kind of stuff, you know. But yeah, sure. Extreme hiding and body blocking prevention. Extreme hiding refers to survivors drawing out an unwinnable match and ignoring the objective by waiting out the clock. Yep. To combat this, we're changing the way AFK crows operate, so they can more accurately identify... let me just rewire the brain. Identify when a player is deliberately avoiding engagement with their gameplay objective. Once a player receives crows, their location will be immediately revealed to the killer. We'll also be incorporating a feature that allows players to lose collision after receiving a third AFK crow. Shouldn't it just be the first? To be honest? Because if you've got a first AFK crow, you've already fucking been being a prick for a decent amount of time at that point. Which should prevent an instance of body block related griefing, yeah. Why not just the first one? Or why not just remove body blocking on survivors full stop? You know? I don't know, a bit weird. Seems like a very easy fix to body blocking, to be honest. It doesn't even need to involve crows. Like, it's just make survivors, even like make survivors maybe bounce off each other, like push each other slightly, you know, that you have in most games. Like it's in Left 4 Dead, the survivors in Left 4 Dead, where they just sort of brush against each other, that kind of stuff. Just have it like that. It's not hard. It really isn't, to stop body blocking. I don't know why we're taking like the massive round the houses route of doing crows. Sure. The extreme hiding situation, though, is a positive. This is just fucking shit to play against, to be honest, when they just start hiding and not doing their objective. Survivors at the moment as well can sit in the corner of a map and repeatedly drop whatever item they're carrying, and they'll never get crows. So they can just keep doing that, and once they hear your terror radius approaching, they'll start moving to a new location, and because they're moving, in that instance, the crows won't start anyway. But yeah, it is what it is. Map offerings. Right, this is a spicy one for me personally, ladies and gentlemen, because I do believe these fucking things should never have been in the game to begin with, and they need fucking removing, to be honest, because they only ever produce toxicity. I've never had a game where map offerings have produced anything except toxicity. So, to be honest, mate, just fucking get rid of them, and you'll fix anything what this is about to say overnight. So, we recognise that map offerings are a bit divisive. They're just shit, mate. Some players enjoy them. Yeah, the dickheads in Discord calls that like to send you there for piss easy advantages, while others feel they grant an unfair advantage. Yeah, because they do. We don't feel that way behaviour. We know they do. You know, the fact that they automatically bypass both the map and realm repetition system can also add to that frustration. Yeah, just fucking get rid of them entirely. Moving forward, map offerings will no longer guarantee the appearance of a given map, good, but rather increase its chances by 20%. I mean, thank God it's not 50, but I don't know, maybe this will be enough to kill them, and they won't get used anymore. But it's not even the sense of them being used as well. Like, these fucking things, dude, like the amount of times in the Blood Web where you'll get to like level 35 and beyond on Killer or Survivor, and it'll just literally fill your fucking Blood Web with all this stupid map offering shit, and these are 3,500 BP each, mate. You know, they take up a massive portion of like where all the useful items are as well, because greens are generally quite a decent tier for items, perks, add-ons, all that kind of stuff, you know? Like, just fucking get rid of them. Seriously, they don't like do anything apart from make the game toxic. Note that they will not stack, good, so it is a flat 20%. We're also looking to make it so map offerings as well as several other types of offerings will remain a secret during loading. Why? This affects me in sort of a positive way, because it'll make me play the game rather than going into it with negativity. Because when I see a map offering on the loading screen, I know it's going to be a bunch of dickheads that are going to be taking the piss, you know? So now I probably won't be as on edge when I go into games. But yeah, that way your decision to remain in the match will not be swayed by external factors. That's what that means. It means that you know, size at the loading screen, basically. Yeah, just fucking remove them, dude. Fucking get rid of them. They're so bad for the game overall. And I apologise for all 4 of the fucking Scratch Mirrored Myers gamers out there, you know. It is what it is, boys. I mean, you're dead anyway. You're 20%, to be honest. Scratch Mirrored Myers isn't going to happen anymore. That's it. That's dead, basically. Probably. But, yeah. Just fucking get rid of them completely. Spawn rules. Survivor spawn placements can have a significant impact on a trial's outcome, an observation that has been repeatedly recognised by our community. It's become clear that survivors spawning separately and thereby covering more ground allows them to gain a notable advantage in completing their objective. Hang on, wait a minute. That sounds like a developer that's actually playing the game. Fucking hell. Right, that's surprising. I didn't expect that to be written by a behaviour dev, to be honest. This is what I try to explain in all my videos. This is what I explained at the beginning, where you lose two gens in your first chase. They've literally just stated it there. That's what it is. They cover more ground and it allows them to gain a notable advantage in completing their objective. The 2 gens that you lose in your first chase. Right, okay, so what are we doing about it? Keep it rolling. Come on. We're changing the default survivor spawn rules to ensure that survivors will spawn within 12 meters of one another on the same floor if applicable. To accommodate for this change, shroud offerings will be adjusted accordingly. There's a problem. So, Lethal Pursuer exists, right? So we've got Lethal Pursuer. Blight exists. Nurse exists. Hillbilly exists. Alien exists. Did we consider the slugging situation here? That's 4 survivors in the same place at the beginning of the match. It's going to just be a scatter situation, to be honest. As soon as you spawn in, mate, just run in separate directions, I suppose. That's quite a massive buff to Lethal Pursuer, and also Blight and stuff like that by extension. because that's just literally going to turn Blight into a fucking bowling ball. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with Shrouds now, though. Shrouds was something I wanted to remove, though, as well, purely from a Bloodweb perspective, to be honest. Because it's just, it's Bloodweb trash, to be honest. The same way reagents are, Murkies. It's just stuff that doesn't need to be in the game, dude. It's pointless. Yeah. We'll have to see. I don't really have anything to say about that, to be fair, other than what I've just said. I don't know how it's going to work with Nurse, Billy Blight, everybody, you know, who's traversal based. Dredge, to a smaller extent. Although the cooldown at the beginning is probably going to give you a chance to get away from each other. Clumping everybody together with a hillbilly is going to be quite bad as well. If they know what they're doing anyway. I don't know, we'll just have to see with that, fellas. Improved AFK bot detection. Players that use AFK bots can be frustrating to have in your trial, and we're working on improvements to our detection systems, yep, sure. Blood point spending. To speed up general Bloodweb activity, we're adding a button that will allow you to spend blood points in bulk, yeah, don't care. Quest system. Oh, shit. Previously announced last year, was it? Shit, I forgot. The quest system is part of a larger update to the archives and rifts, so expect more information in the article dedicated to that. For now, know that we are reworking the challenge system as well as daily rituals to reduce the grind. Good. Make it easier to earn rewards and increase the overall level of fun. Good. As I've said earlier on, boys, the grind is just ridiculous. It does need to be toned down now. It needs to be sort of, as more content comes to the game, it needs to be sort of, you know, stretched along with the content that's arriving, you know. Perks and perk loadouts and preview after a successful round of A/B testing. Don't know what that means. We'll be allowing players to see their own perk layouts while in a lobby, as well as adding additional perk loadout slots. Yep. We believe these changes will overall benefit to Dead by Daylight's health, further establishing a positive gaming environment for all our players. We'd also like to thank you for your patience and understanding during this time. We'll be back at our anniversary broadcast in May to recap part 1 and provide deeper insight into part 2 of our roadmap, so keep an eye out on the announcement. That's going to be a fucking spicy anniversary broadcast, boys, when we start talking about part 2, because part 2 seems very fucking problematic to me, honestly, for the reasons that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. But yeah, we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback. Sure. There it is, fellas. Yeah. Scary times, also could be good times, but as somebody that plays both sides of this game, because I do, there's worrying things everywhere here, mate, to be fair. Very worrying things in a lot of aspects. I've already brushed on this, I'm not going to go through it all again, but they need to not go with the iframe route, dude. If they go the iframe route and they go rewarding survivors again, in terms of like hooking survivors or penalising killers for doing everything that they're doing in a match, the game's going to get worse. It's just, it is what it is. Black and white. More iframes, more second chances, more invincibility states, more you can't kill me mechanics. Game's going to get worse. So, it is what it is. Quality of life's, I can live or die by it, to be fair. Yeah. Prestige rewards I'm quite interested in. Be looking out for that in May. But yeah. There it is, boys. That's going to be my analysis of it. My rants, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. See you on the next one, eh?